Today we're going to take a look at filling out an income tax form for Thomas Peterson. And you were given his information in D2L, and we're going to take a look at that information and use it. Now please note that you'll see this W-2 says 2014. We're just going to pretend that that says 2022. Okay, so don't worry about the fact that these forms say a different year. They still look the same in 2022, and we're going to use them in the same way. So this first form here is a W-2, which means that Thomas Peterson, as the employee, got wages from his employer, Orangeburg Consulting. In box 1 is the total wages he got that are taxable for income tax. And box 2 shows how much income tax was withheld from his paychecks and handed over to the IRS already. Box 3 and 5 show how much of his wages was taxable for Social Security and Medicare, and how much Social Security and Medicare taxes was withheld. Now, since we are doing a income tax return, we're not concerned with the Social Security and Medicare, unless he was a waiter and had unreported tips. He would have to add some Social Security and Medicare tax to that, or if he's self-employed, he would have to add them. But for a basic person who's just employed as an employee and doesn't have any unreported tips, we're mainly going to be using boxes 1 and 2. Now, sometimes there's additional things in box 12 that we may have to add or subtract or something. In this case, there's only one code DD, and that's his health insurance that the company paid for him. And that information is required to be put on there, but we don't actually do anything with it. Down along the bottom of the W-2 shows the state that he was an employee in South Carolina, the employer's ID number, how much of his wages was taxable for state income taxes, and how much state income tax was taken out of his paychecks and handed over to the state of South Carolina. He will have to file a separate South Carolina tax return to be able to get any refund that he might be due of those taxes. At the end of the semester, we'll take a look at doing that. So mainly here, we just need the $61,292. Notice there's 5 cents. You round up always to the nearest dollar. So if this was 50 cents or more, we would round up to $61,293. But here we will keep it as $61,292. And we'll be using the income tax that was withheld. And again, we're rounding, so we'll keep it as $98.51. Now on this next form here, this is interest income. This is a 1099 INT. Again, we're going to pretend it's for 2022. And in box 1, it shows that he received interest income on his bank account or investment, whatever he had in First National Bank. He received $537.39 of interest, and that is taxable. That's going to go on the tax return as well, and again, we will round it, so we'll use $537. Okay, so what it asks us for first is the filing status. Now, in this case, Thomas Peterson is single and he has no dependents or anything, so not head of household or anything else. Okay. The first name is Thomas. last name is Peterson. If it's a joint return, which his is not, so we do not have a spouse there, we just leave that blank. Over to the right, it wants his social security number. Where are we going to find that? Well, it's on these forms. So here, the employee social security number, 412-345670. 412 412-345670. Let me check that. 412-345670. Okay, so always double, triple check whatever you need to do to make sure that number is right. The number one reason for forms getting voided out, invalidated, people not getting their refunds when they should be, is because they've put in the wrong number, they didn't pay attention to double checking it. Always double check it. On your exams, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, if you put in the wrong number, that's a 0 for the entire form. So double check it always. Okay. Okay, we have the home address. That's on here, 567 East Street of Orangeburg. State of South Carolina, 29115. Okay, if he had some kind of foreign address, that we would use that last line of address stuff, but we don't need to. Okay, the presidential election campaign is if he wants to designate part of his tax liability toward going to the presidential election campaign. And $3 is what it is. So, in other words, you do not have the opportunity to tell Congress that you want X number of dollars of your tax dollars to go toward fixing the roads or education or military or whatever. You have no say, okay? You hopefully vote for someone who's going to represent you in Congress who makes those decisions, but you yourself have no decision making except for this $3. That says that you definitely want $3 of the taxes you pay into the country to go toward the presidential election campaign. If you do want that, you would check this box for yourself, and if your spouse also wanted to do $3, then that box would be checked. If it's not checked, then no designation is made. It does not change how much you get for a refund or how much you would have to pay to the IRS. Nothing like that is changed. All right. Digital assets. At any time during 2022, did you receive as a reward, award, or payment for property or services, or to be, sell, exchange, gift, or otherwise dispose of a digital asset, financial interest in a digital asset? See instructions. What they're mainly talking about here is stuff like Bitcoin. Okay, that's a digital asset. Okay, it's not a real coin that you hold in your hand. It's a digital coin. And so if you have any involvement with any of that, you buy them, you sell them, you hold them, you receive them in any form or fashion, then you would check this yes box. If not, then you would check the no box. Okay? All right, standard deduction. If anybody else can claim Thomas as a dependent, or if anybody else can claim Thomas's spouse, which he doesn't have anyways, as a dependent, or if Thomas was married but his spouse itemizes separately from Thomas, okay, or Thomas was a dual status alien, okay. If any of those things apply, you check those boxes. Age and blindness. If you were born before January 2nd, 1958, meaning you were 65 as of December 31st, or if you are legally blind, you have paperwork and doctor stuff to show it, or your spouse was over 65, or your spouse was blind, and you check those boxes. Next is for dependents, and if Thomas had any dependents, children, elderly parents, whatever, that he was taking care of, that information would go in here, and we'll talk more about those things in the future. Okay, so here's our income. All the rest of this stuff is income. Okay, line 1A, the total amount from your W-2, box 1. So our W-2, box 1, is the $61,292. And remember, we're only putting in whole dollars. We're not putting in a .00 or a dash or any of the things that we did in Accounting 101. Line 1B, household employee wages not reported on Form W-2. Well, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have any tip income, which is 1C, or Medicare waiver payments, taxable dependent care benefits, employer-provided adoption benefits, wages from 8919, or other earned income. Okay, non-taxable combat pay. And here on line 1Z, he adds up all the other lines, which includes 1A through H. So ours is just still the $61,292. Okay, line 2, we have tax-exempt interest or taxable interest. Now we saw on his form that he had $537 of interest income, and that is taxable. Okay, and we'll talk in Chapter 2 more about what kinds of interests are tax-exempt or tax-free. But this is taxable, so $537 goes there under taxable interest, line 2B. He doesn't have any of these other lines, and so we're going to go down to line 9, add line 1Z, which is our $61,292, plus the rest of those lines, and that is your total income. So we're going to add $61,292 plus the $537, and that's $61,829. Line 10 is adjustments. He doesn't have any. So line 11, we have to subtract 10 from 9, so that's still $61,829. Line 12 is the standard deduction. And we talked in the PowerPoint about the standard deduction, and that standard deduction for an individual is $12,940 for a single. Remember that he filed as a single filing status, so the standard deduction that goes with that is the $12,950. He doesn't have any qualified business income deduction, so we add lines 12 and 13, and that's still $12,950. Line 15 is the total taxable income. It says subtract line 14 from line 11. And that's $48,870.